Hey, hi. It's Ann Rusniak with our Thriving Thursday show. And I want to welcome you here where we share information for you to grow a wildly successful business while living the life you richly deserve. And I'm Ann Rusniak, a success mindset strategist, and your host for today. And actually, today is kind of special. You probably noticed that I'm not alone here. There's somebody else next. I guess I go this way. Somebody else next to me, and today we're going to be talking about 17 ways to extraordinary networking. And our guest today is Georgia London. And so I hope London. So when I say London, sorry about that.
Sorry.
So I do want to welcome her as well. And thanks for being here. And Georgia actually, let me want to hide this part here. Hold on just a moment. We're still mastering these people. You've got to put up with me. Okay, so let's see. There we go. And we're going to hide that one out. Okay, there we go. All righty. At least I'm not deleting them anymore, so we're doing better. But anyway, Georgia, she helps women entrepreneurs, I'm assuming women entrepreneurs, to get over their not good enough, boy, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Story, recovering from procrastination and perfectionism. Don't know anybody that does that, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that suffers from that. So they can have that passion and purpose and create a profitable business with their soul calling them. She is also a founder and creator of Zengevity as a training, and that's an intuitive, holistic brain fitness. That's got that wondering what that is. So we'll be asking questions about that as well. And it's a movement program created especially for people age 50 and better. Love that better. It's so great. To offset dementia and help you look and feel better. She has certified over 700 Zengevity teachers who teach at senior centers associated with Living Health Clubs. Welcome, Georgia. That sounds so exciting here. And basically, I love that name, Zengevity. So can you tell us just a little bit about how you came up with that name and talk a little bit more about it?
Sure. Hi, Ann. And thank you so much for inviting me to your show. I'm really excited to be here and to share with you. And yes, it's my name, Georgia London. It's sometimes hard to pronounce, but hard to forget also because remember, Georgia, a state, and London, a city. So who names their kid a state and a city, right? So Zengevity, it's the kind of a play off Zen, right? And then longevity. So living a Zen life for a very long time. And we like to say in Zengevity, that we're creating a long, healthy, and happy life. And that's what Zengevity is all about. And it's a brain fitness and body fitness program. I'm a psychologist by training. And though I spent most of my professional career in addiction and recovery, I was a clinical researcher at Harvard Medical School and did a lot of clinical direction there. When I began to get close to retiring from Harvard, I was all along, while I was working, I always taught movement. It was just, I hate to exercise. I hate to say it, but it's true. Here I have a fitness business, but I hate to exercise. And so I just felt like, if I was teaching the exercise, then I would have to show up, right? And I would have to do it. So all through my life, I always taught movement of some sort, whether it was yoga classes or step classes or even martial arts classes. And so I don't know, I guess it's been about 7 years now. I got a call from my local senior center who asked me if I would come and teach an exercise class with seniors. I had never worked with that group before, and I was still working full time. And I just, I started teaching these lovely women. There were 12 women, and I was teaching a different type of movement form. And I realized, wow, there's so much more we can do to help and support people as they get older. And so I created my own program, and that's what Zengevity is. So it's the only thing I see out there that's actually doing brain exercise or brain fitness with the actual body movements. And then we do, the teachers learn how to actually ask questions during the class, so that we're really doing a lot of dual tasking in the program. And what happened was everybody loved it, and they just started saying, can you teach here? Can you teach there? And it was like, oh no, I'm working full time. How could I do that? And then a friend of mine said, Georgia, you could teach other people how to do this. And so that's how Zingevity got started. A couple of years after that, I left my full-time job and started my own business of Zingevity. And it's been fabulous. We now I have 3 trainers who go out and train other teachers, and we have about 700 teachers who, as you said, teach in assisted livings. They, more fit seniors. We go into health clubs. We have 2 teachers teaching at a Veterans Administration hospital in New Hampshire, where they work with a class that's 12 vets, all in wheelchairs. So we always say any age, shape, size, or ability can do Zingevity. So you could have a wheelchair class, or you could go to a health club down the street and have a regular fitness class that anybody could come to and do the Zingevity. I think Zingevity is really for everybody, though we specifically have created it for people, as you said, age 50 and better.
Yeah, and I love that. What a calling. And that is a calling. And that's what entrepreneurialism, it's a calling, because no sane person would just do this. So it actually, it is a calling. And thank you for honoring that calling, because a lot of us don't. So thank you for honoring that. And you did mention brain fitness. So before we get into our tips here, can you kind of talk a little bit about what brain fitness is?
Sure. Our brain is just like a muscle in our body, right? And we exercise the muscles in our body to keep them strong, to keep them flexible. And so brain fitness is basically the same thing, right? We want to exercise the brain so that it gets stronger and stays flexible. And they found, the research has shown us that, the more movement that you do, the better it is for your brain in terms of offsetting dementia or Alzheimer's or anything else really that can affect the brain. So, for example, the best exercise that someone can do to prevent dementia or Alzheimer's is actually ping pong, believe it or not. And the reason it's ping pong is because when you're playing ping pong, right, your cross-body movements. Cross-body movements is what's really important. That really fires up certain areas of the brain, stimulates the brain, keeps it active, keeps it strong. And that's what you want. For example, you could go take a walk every day, and that's fabulous for your physical fitness. It's also good for your brain. But if you went out walking with a friend and the 2 of you were talking the whole time, that would be what we would call dual tasking. Okay. So that not only is your body, your physical body moving and getting the exercise the lungs and the heart needs, but also talking with your friend, gets your brain stimulated so that you're activating the brain. And so you're getting what I call a 2-for-1, right? So you're actually getting brain fitness and body fitness. And so that's what Zingevity is all about, is that we create movements that are mostly cross-body. We do movements such, that are like, we call them puzzle walks, right? So, we all have heard play cards, do puzzles. Those are the kinds of things that'll offset, the brain being diminished and dementia. And so, and that's all true and it's all good. I mean, I'm a total believer that all movement is good. In fact, some people always say to me, Georgia, why do you send people to other programs? And it's like, well, I want people to get better. And I know Zingevity is not for everybody. I certainly hope that people would give it a try and see if it's for them. But I think that, any kind of movement that we do, and we activate the brain during that time, that we're going to, live longer, we're going to feel better, we're going to look better, all the things that we want health-wise and fitness-wise will come true for us. So that, in a nutshell, is what Zingevity is.
Oh, that sounds great. The different things. I'm glad you said about playing cards and doing that kind of stuff too is also great for your brain. Actually, those are good break things to do. Working, for a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we'll just stay in our offices or whatever, and those are good things to do to break and go take some of that stuff. So
Yeah, I know. For me, my husband and I both work at home now. He's a consultant, and we have a puzzle set up, in our dining room. And, when we have a break and we come down and get a cup of tea, we'll work on putting a few of the pieces together. So he does it sometimes, I do it sometimes we do it together. But that's a very simple task that people can do that really helps, promote this strengthening of the brain, the flexibility of the brain.
Oh, good. That's a great advice. And of course, when you're having a business, there's something that's we need as clients. And so how do we go about getting clients? Well, one of the best ways is to go out networking. It is one of the most cost-effective ways. I actually grew a 6-figure business just on networking because when I started my business, I only had so much money. And it get wiped out in one advertising. So it was like, this is not the route to go. And I learned about networking. And that was, I grew, and I still grow my business this way. It is a great way to grow your business because businesses are built on relationships. And that's what networking is all about. In fact, that's how Georgia and I met. We network online here. We're actually in several groups and been in several programs together. And Georgia kind of reached out. She's also in my Unstoppable Success group. And you're welcome to join that too. That's on Facebook. But that is all started a relationship, and it didn't happen like overnight. It took, it takes a while to build one. But I'm able to have her as a guest on my show, and I know I'm going to be a guest on her show as well. So that's going to it's giving both of us exposure for, our business and the ability to share our expertise. So now Georgia's got some wonderful tips that she is going to share for both online and offline on how to use networking, not just networking, extraordinary ways to network. So we can have those wildly successful businesses. So go ahead, Georgia.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You are so right, Anne. It is the strength of a business. The better your networking, the better your business. And the more people you connect with, the more people will come into your business, right? And maybe they are a client or a customer, or maybe they're a supporter. Like I see you as one of my supporters, and I hope you see me as your supporter. And that's really important too. And I think people forget about that. Like it's all about get the clients. And the truth is that the more we network with our supporters, the more we're going to bring in other people to see us. And it's like, we do very similar work, and I have a second business called Be Boldly Brilliant, which is a business coaching program that's sort of an offshoot of Zingevity. The teachers needed help with that, so I created that program. But that program is very much in line with, your program. And so, but I don't see you as a competitor, and I hope you don't see me as a competitor. I don't look at the world that way. I look at it as being supporters or cooperators, right? Cooperating with each other, because there's people out there who I know would be better served if they were working with you rather than with me, right? And vice versa. And so, one person isn't for everybody. And so, being a supporter in networking is really valuable because I may find the perfect client for you and refer them to you or send them to you and the same. And so I think that's really key in networking, that people realize that it's not just networking for clients, but you're also networking for, influencers or supporters. Both of those are two terms that are similar, but they're different. So supporters is like this, like I'll be on your show, you're on my show. I share you with my community, you're sharing me with your community. An influencer is someone who might talk about our business in a blog or on a podcast, and we may not even be there, right? So they're not actually supporting us, but they're influencing others about what we are, what we do, who we are. And so that's really important too. So when you're networking, I think it's really important to see that we're networking not only for attracting clients to us, but for supporters and for influencers too. And then, let me go through the quicks. I call it the quick 17. I think, for some of you who have been networking for some time, some of this stuff will be old hat and you're used to hearing about it, but it's never, I think, too much to hear it again, right? And then I'm going to put in some new stuff too about online networking. I'm actually going to be on a really great podcast called Plaid for Women, and they have like 60,000 women who are on this who are in this podcast, listen to this podcast, and they have this incredible program. And I met them, through a Facebook group, right? It was just a podcasting Facebook group on Facebook. And, I think that's a really great way to meet people online, is participating in the Facebook groups. So number one, let's separate this a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about local. And I think especially if you're starting a business or you're in the first 3-5 years of your business, you want to be sure you lay down a local foundational base. And I think a lot of people skip this step. The people who think, oh, I'm going to be this online successful guru, right? Online marketer, right? And they don't realize that, first, set your base, set your foundation, and do that locally. Go to your Rotary clubs, go to the Toastmasters, go to women's networking events, go to e-women events, go to events locally. Like, I really invite my clients to go at least once a week to a different event. And if that's too much for them, then at least once a month, go to a local networking meeting where you're with people in the flesh and you really get to know them, because they're not only, again, where you will find clients there, but you'll find supporters and influencers. For example, I was at a local networking meeting and I happened to meet a woman who's on the board of, all the Maryland state healthcare agencies. Oh my gosh, what an influencer that is, right? For me and Zingevity, she can go to an assisted living and say, oh, you guys should be doing Zingevity, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So what do you do when you go to these local ones, and it's both online and offline. Number one, you want to be friendly, right? You want to smile. You want to say hello. I think a lot of times people go and they just kind of hold back, especially if it's their first few times. And so it's really important, don't go there and just go hide in the corner. Like, get out there, say hi, and smile, engage with people. I think fear holds us back. Procrastination will hold us back. And it's important to really get out there. So that to me is the number one important thing for networking. And then, be enthusiastic, be positive. I see this all the time. People will say, how are you? Hi, how are you? And the other person says, okay, or they say, fine, or they'll say good, right? And that's sort of typical responses. And, and so you automatically set yourself in a typical view, right? So when someone asks you how you are, say, I'm fantastic. It's fabulous. It's a great day. It could be snowing like crazy outside, but you could say, I love the snow. It's really great. It's being happy, being enthusiastic, being engaging. Now, not fakey or phony or put on. I'm not suggesting that. I'm asking you, to be who you are. They're going to remember you more. What's the saying? People never remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. And if you're a really good listener, they're going to remember you because they're going to remember they felt heard, right? And when people feel heard, there's a real connection that happens. And I think that's really important. I always say to my clients, listen to speak to the other person's listening. Okay. And I know it's a little abstract, but when you speak it in a way that is really in the way that they can hear you. Right. Oftentimes we just go on and on, we're talking about this, we're talking about that, but we're not really talking about something that's relevant or interesting to the other person. And so that's really important to have keys and cues from the other person that you're really truly listening to them.
Georgia, one of the things that I, because you talk about that we get, fine, we get in this kind of this rut or rote thing. And we're talking about, you're meeting somebody and there's always that default question, well, what do you do? And as soon as someone starts talking, you almost shut down because it's just, all right, I'm just asking this question. I find that when I go to a group and I ask somebody, well, what makes you famous? I want to get engaged and hear more of what they're doing because it gets them out of that rote, I am blah, 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 blah. But it gets them talking about themselves. And when they start talking about themselves, it gives you clues on where to take the conversation even further. So that listening is critical. And I know I need to improve that much myself also. So good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got it, Anne. Absolutely. And that leads right into the next part, which is what you alluded to right there, which is the elevator speech, right? Well, we all have that standard. What do you do? And then you go into that, right? I love what makes you famous. I love that. That's great. So yeah, stay away from that. Stay away from that elevator speech thing. There's a fabulous book. If you don't have this book and you network, you need to buy this book. It's by Felicia Slattery. Now, some of you will know Felicia, but Felicia Slattery wrote a book called Kill the Elevator Speech. I think it's one of the best networking books I have ever read. And I've read tons, right? But, and what she's saying when she says kill the elevator speech is just what you're saying, Anne. We get into this rote, right? We get into this rut of, how are you? What do you do? And it's just like, it's like a broken record. If there's anybody on here who remembers what records are.
I wish I were age.
Going, what's she talking about? Broken record. What's a record? But anyway, so yeah, that's a great book for just what you're talking about, and that's one of my 17 is, kill the elevator speech. Don't worry about your elevator speech. It's just like you said, Anne, build your relationship, build that connection with people, and then go really personal, right? Ask people about their families. I like to tell personal stories, and I always ask about tell me a little bit about your family, and that way you go personal right away. You make that personal connection right away, and everyone loves to talk about their family. So
yes, they do. It includes furry people too.
Oh, yeah. And then so complimenting people, another one is, but, obviously sincerely and with integrity, but they're great conversation starters. If you really like someone's hat, you can say, I love that hat, right? Whatever it might be, you can compliment people. That's a great conversation opener. And again, be entertaining, encouraging, supportive, friendly. And then 7, look for people who are alone. Often we see someone off by themselves. They may be new or they may just be shy, but go up to them and meet them, reach out to the people you see. And you always will see someone kind of hanging out on the sidelines or at the food table, so go up and talk to them. And then, ask for advice. People love to give advice, and that's another great conversation opener. So, ask for advice. And sometimes you get some really great advice. I know I do. And then number 9 is, before you even start networking, set a goal. Like what is your goal for the networking event? Is it to meet 3 people, 5 people, 10 people? Is it to maybe meet just one person and just go really deep with that one person? So set a goal of what you really want to get out of the networking meeting that you're going to go to. And that's online as well as off, right? So in a Facebook group, be strategic about what groups you're in. Be sure you're in groups that will serve you. I mean, I'm in lots and lots of Facebook groups. I participate in some because it helps me and supports me. I participate in others because I know my ideal audience is there, and I'm strategically placing things. I'm not, putting things in groups to try to take people from other people's groups. I'm not talking about that. That's so unethical. And I've had that happen in my Be Boldly Brilliant group, and I've had to shut someone down for doing that because she was basically, every post that she made in the group was an invite to her business, right? She was selling something in my group every single day. So I had to stop that. Most Facebook groups now, people have kind of wised up and they say, okay, you can promote on Thursdays and only Thursdays, or whatever it might be. And that's a great way to do it, because we want to support each other and our businesses. But it's sort of an unfair advantage to other people when someone's doing it every single day. But you can show up in those groups and give as much value as you can and answer questions people have. And if people contact you out of the group, you can certainly respond to them. And that's a way to, support your own networking. And then show up early, right? Show up really early when there are less people present, because that's another good way to meet people and to sort of connect with them. And then 12 is volunteer at events at the meetings. If you're a greeter or if you're at the registration desk or you're even doing the food, right? You're going to meet everybody as they come in, and you can kind of assess, well, who would be a good connection for me? Who would be a great influencer? Who would be a great supporter? Who would be a possible client? And you can then, later in the meeting, really connect with those people. It kind of gives you a helping hand. And then we talked a little bit about this, but 13 is go easy with the business cards. Like, don't shove them down people's throats. I see that all the time. People come and they go, "Hi, how are you? Here's my card," right? And those cards for me get thrown in the drawer because it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to build that relationship that can be supportive and encouraging.
In fact, Georgia, one of the things that I don't give out my business card. I let people request it. I just don't hand it out. Even there's some networking events I go to and they say, pass the cards around. My card is not in there. I want people to, to request it, because you're right. I know exactly what happens with those. They stay in this stack of I'm going to intention kind of thing. It never happens. And then eventually they end up in what I call this thing here. Oh, I guess I can't pull it up. That's my circular file. And it gets dumped in there and it doesn't do any good. So I learned, you want my card, you ask for it, then I hand it to them.
Absolutely. That's the perfect way to network in my book. I think that's so important. It's so valuable. I hope everyone heard what Ann just said, because it was very, very valuable and very important. Yeah, don't go to a networking meeting and start just shoving your card down people's throats. Let them wait and let them ask for it. Let them ask you, get to that point in the relationship where they really, truly want to connect with you. Otherwise, your card just gets thrown in the drawer, right? Or in the Rolodex or someplace. The other thing I do, I like, I do that too. I don't just give people cards. But I also like to make my card unique. Maybe you give out a bookmark, or maybe you give out, I don't know, a big poster card. You can make your business cards different than the usual little business card that's everybody gives. That's so typical. I use Moo cards, and for Zingevity, I have these little tiny cards, and everybody comes over to me and wants them because with Moo, and you can go to moo.com, MOO, yes, like cow, moo.
I've seen these cards.
It's a fabulous service because you can get 50 images on those 50 business cards. And so what I do is I put in 50 different images of Zingevity students. So I have our elders on my little business card, right? On one side, there's a picture of the senior who's taking the Zingevity class, and I can have 50 of those photos. And when someone asks me for my card and I pull it out, everybody's like, "Oh, what's that?" Right? Because it's different. It's a little tiny card and it has these 50, and I lay them all out on the table and everybody comes over and starts looking at them. And, one person, then two, and then I have a crowd around me going, "Oh, look at these," because they have not seen that. So it's really important to find, to have something that's distinctive and different for yourself. One meeting I went to, I just brought roses and gave a rose to everybody. Didn't put my business card on the rose, nothing on the rose, but just a rose. I just wanted to give people a gift, right? But I got more people who called me after that meeting than any other meeting, right? And it was a small group of 20 people, but I just felt like for the first time going there, I wanted to give them a gift for inviting me to their meeting. So I just gave out roses. And then I think one of the best business cards I ever got was a packet of seeds, wildflower seeds. And her business was Wildfire Dance. And so the wildflower seeds, her business card was printed on the seed pack, was really cool. And I planted those wildflowers and they grew. It was awesome. It was like one of the best business cards ever. So, be different, be unique. And then 14 is, focus on what you can do to help others. It was Zig Ziglar who said, the more you help someone else, the more people will come to you, right? So build those relationships, really help people. I feel like if I haven't helped someone at least 3 or 4 times, that there's not going to be a connection until that happens. And it's often what happens is people have these expectations. People owe them, that if you call them, that they should respond. Well, people are busy. They don't have to respond, build that relationship, build that connection. And then, of course, you want to be prepared. You want to know who's going to be there. You want to know what the organization is all about. You want to dress professionally, or dress in the way that everyone else is dressing. You don't want to stand out too much. And then we talked about the elevator speech. And, for me, it's always about what is the problem we're trying to solve, and what is the solution? And being able to say that in a compelling way is so important. I often find, people, they do this 30-second rotation thing. Everybody's got 30 seconds to tell about who they are and what their business is. Well, that's pretty hard to do in 30 seconds, right? And I see people who just like blah, 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 and try to do it. But all you have to do is say, this is the problem I solve, and this is how I help you, right? That's it. It doesn't have to be a long, involved things. I think in those situations, I say something like, I inspire women to daring adventures and success. And that's it, right? And people go, what does that mean, right? And then they come up and they talk to me and they go, daring adventures? Do you lead retreats? I mean, what do you do? So what do you do? So you attract people to come in and say, what do you do? Because then you can begin to build that relationship. And then, oh my gosh, we're getting down here. So 17 is follow-up. And that's so key, right? Following up with the connections you made. Again, a lot of people collect business cards and never call the people, never, send them something in the mail, or text them, or, go to their Facebook group and join their Facebook group. People just throw the cards in a drawer and forget about it. But you got to follow up. I think I was just reading about this morning in the New York Times that it's at least 8 to 10 contacts before a client will purchase from you. 8 to 10. That's a lot of contacts.
That's increased because there's so much noise going on. And I'm going to kind of just dovetail a little bit on what you said about follow-up. And I think the reason why a lot of us go out there and we're doing all of this, I mean, networking is a time commitment, and we're out there doing a lot of stuff. And I'm going to have to say I'm not 100% good at all this myself, but I do have some system in place. So when I get back to my office and I've got some new cards and new people, it's like I know what to do. Here is what I do next with the cards and how I reach out. And I know that's what I teach my clients as well, is when they're out networking and connecting, it's like, what is your follow-up system? And it's like, they don't think beyond, well, I went to this networking event, now what? And networking is, you're not there to sell. You're there to make an initial connection. So that follow-up is critical. That almost needs to be number 1, not 17. I think it needs to be number 1. But yeah, you shared some excellent tips here, Georgia.
So yeah, absolutely. I think it is number 1. I think having systems and processes in place for networking is key. It's really critical. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. And as you said, and networking is a commitment of time to go out, especially locally and in person. It's a little easier online. I set a goal for myself of spending at least 15 minutes a day going into different Facebook groups, connecting with people in those groups, posting things in the groups, or answering people's questions. And I think you can do just that. It is, as you said, it's over time that we build relationships. You don't make a best friend in one day or one meeting, right?
Right.
So it takes the time and it takes commitment, and really connecting and following up. And I guess my bonus tip is just about this, it's so important to be who you are, to be you, to be yourself. And think of it as it's about friends, it's about, building relationships and creating friendships. A lot of times people think, I think you said, as you go into the meetings, you're not there to sell. And that is so absolutely true. A lot of people go to networking, think they're going to sell somebody something, and it's not about selling. Networking is about building those relationships. So I think that is the most important point. I think you're totally right there, Ann.
Yeah, because there's relationships lead to the opportunities.
Right.
And it's opportunities that grow the business. So.
Right. And it's not just about, again, clients. It's about building relationships with influencers, building relationships with supporters.
And you talk, and I know we talked about this a little earlier. It's also too you yourself becoming a referral center for your clients as well, and being able to connect up, people together. And when you can become that connector, that's even more powerful because people remember you more for that. And
absolutely,
yeah, just like great tips. And you mentioned something about a podcast that you're going to be on, that I'm going to invite you to when this is over, Georgia, to go ahead and I'm also showing your name again so people can remember it as well. Put that in the comments. And anybody who's listening to this, even after the live version is over, you have any questions or even some tip for something that you experienced, or maybe you experienced something that was positive or negative at a networking event, please put it in the comments, because we will come back and we'll answer these for you. So just once this broadcast is over doesn't mean it's done. You can ask those questions, as well anytime, and we'll be able to answer them for you, because we, and you mentioned how you don't look at us as competitors. I'm the same way. And there's the book that The Science of Getting Rich. That's a big component about that. It was talking about eliminating the competition, that competitive mindset, that we are all here to complement our businesses. And when you're in that competition mindset, that's almost in that lack mentality. And you can't support each other then, and be able to help each other grow. Because I know that, no, what I'm doing is not unique. What Georgia is not doing unique. What is unique is who I am, who Georgia is, our messages, our stories. And that is what's going to resonate with other people out there as well.
Yeah, well said, Ann. Absolutely. I think it's so important. There was a psychoanalyst back at the time of Freud. His name was Alfred Adler. And Adler believed in this theory of cooperation, that we built society, not in competition. We built society with cooperation. It took cooperation to build a barn together and to help in a business, to grow a business. And it's not really about the competition. And the cooperation will bring us further, farther, faster. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think women just, adapt that a lot easier than men do, because men are just, I don't know if they're just by nature this competitive kind of thing, or whether that's just something that they've been brainwashed that they need to be, all the time. And there is. And I think our world is moving more towards this, letting that down, that competitive, embracing, being able to help each other out more, being able to share our messages better. And
yeah, absolutely. Again, as you said, it's not, not everyone will be attracted to my work. not everyone will be attracted to your work, but the key is the connections, right?
Exactly.
Connecting you to the people you serve best and connecting me to the people I serve best. And that will be the success for all of us.
Well, thank you, Georgia. I appreciate you coming on our Thriving Thursday today. And Georgia is in our Unstoppable Success Group. And you just go to unstoppablesuccessgroup.com and you can connect with Georgia there as well and continue asking her any kind of questions. So if you don't want to post them here but want to go in the group and post them, please feel free to do that as well. And Georgia, please, after the end of the broadcast here, please make sure that you post where that broadcast or your podcast that you're on, because I'd love to be able to hear that as well. And we will see everybody next week. Unfortunately, I forgot to write down the title. Well, I guess I can pull it off the shelf and look at it real quick.
Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to just tell people that I think, as I said, I'm in so many different Facebook groups for different reasons. And your Facebook group is one of the best I've ever seen. I mean, it's just so beautiful, and the care that you give it and is amazing. Both the care in terms of the way the Facebook group looks and the way people interact and the way you're inviting to people. I mean, it's just wonderful. So, lots of kudos to you for that. It's a beautiful Facebook group. And I invite everyone who's watching this to please join Anne's Facebook group. And I know I put that out in my own Facebook group because I don't think, again, there's not one Facebook group that rules them all. You want to be involved in a lot of different groups until you find a few that really connect with you. So yeah. So thank you.
Several as well. And that's the other thing too, Georgia, go and put your group down there also. And we do have that Networking Wednesday in our group and our Promo Thursday. So yeah, that's places to promote.
Yeah, definitely. People, that's a beautiful share. So thank you.
So, okay. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much, Georgia, for sharing all those fantastic tips. And I know I was writing some of them down here, even though I know most of them, they did trigger some of them. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to do that more. So thank you, especially the listening one. That was the one that really needed to resonate with me. So even, as you're going back through and you're listening to this, let me know, put down in the comments, what is your favorite tip that Georgia shared? And we'll see everybody on next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I will see you guys later. And thank you, Georgia.